Alright, it is 9:28 on Monday, November the 22nd, and this is the watch list. I think I'm only going to be trading today and possibly tomorrow. After that, I'll probably be off for Thanksgiving, but I've been thinking about it. I might do this, might be dumb, but I might consider just upping my dollar risk level on morning panic bounce plays until I have a trade where I actually have to take the full dollar risk level loss. I just don't want to be in that case where I'm just trading with such a small amount of money that eventually I'm starting to trade the setup very nicely, but then I have a long way to go in terms of me sizing up, and I'm going to have to catch up, and then that might throw me off. I'm not extremely sure, but for now, if I don't do that, I'm going to stick with that $15 risk level, for morning panic bounce plays and $8 for everything else. If I trade a listed stock, in theory, I'm going to trade just a smaller $4 risk level, which might be hard because those stocks are very jumpy. VISC is a new one. There's this channel that promotes OTCs, and apparently they're going to have news early Monday, which is today. So I'm just going to see if this one can do anything. It has a really important level at 10. So it's a very low priced sub penny stock. I'm just going to watch it. Maybe it can do something. Maybe it won't do anything at all. It's just going to be a watch. DPLS. A lot of these with the number 5. This could be a morning panic bounce play if it does something. And some of these I'd like to see it try to do some kind of reversal setup playing off of higher lows. Like this one could be either or. It could be a morning panic bounce play, but I would want it to be clean considering where it is on the daily chart, or a reversal and it does some kind of higher low setup. That's what I have for right now. I'm going to focus on morning panic bounce play setups, and yeah, we'll see if we can get anything today, and if I can trade them well or not, I'll make an update later. Alright, it is 9:39 a.m. and I am up like $11.35 trading TGGI, a $474 position, $15 risk level. It had a morning panic bounce play. As you can see here, it went from 17.5 roughly to 15.5. So that is like that's like a 13% move, give or take. Not exactly 13%, maybe around 10%, but the drop was there. It did look clean, nice big red candles, and I was in at 15.8, 934 right here, 15.8. Now I would have liked it if I would have gotten in at 15.6. As you can see, I did try to do that at 933 when it was looking like it was going to do that reversal, just because of the level 2 price action really, but I wasn't able to get there. But there was a seller at 15.8 and I hit that person with 30,000 shares. I sold this thing into pieces. I'm really happy with the way I traded this one. I had my first sell, as you can see, at 9:35. The next minute it instantly started to work, and that's when I'm very inclined to sell just a small portion of my shares, which was 10,000. At 9:35 I sold 10,000 shares at 16.1. So right here I sold 10,000 shares, and then at 9:36 I sold 15,000 shares in two different trades. One was at 9:36. I'm sure some of these averaged up. Maybe instead of 16.3 it was actually 16.25, but there was one sell here at 16.3 that averaged there, and then one at 16.4, which in theory I top ticked, but it might have been 16.35 or something like that, is when I sold right there at 9:36. And then the last 5,000 shares I was inclined to hold on to it just a little longer. I mean, just a tiny piece of my original position size. I ended up selling that at 16, and that was at 9:36. Again, the same candle. So I sold it because it looked like it was just reached a peak, which was VWAP, and then it started the downtrend. That was a pretty nice trade. Now it's a bit too wicky for me to consider like a double bottom. I'd rather wait for this if it can do maybe a lower low off of this level, and then maybe I can trade that. I guess I might try to do something like that, but that might be kind of iffy because it did have this level here and it's now under it, so it might try to have a downtrend and then come back to this level and then fail, which would mean there's a little range on some kind of a setup that plays after the morning panic bounce play. And of course I would trade a smaller $8 risk level because it's not a morning panic bounce play. OZSC kind of had one, kind of had one. I wouldn't have traded it. I did look at it, I think, when it was here, so the setup was already playing out. I just didn't really like the daily chart. I didn't like the price action that nicely to take a trade there. RGBP maybe had one in theory, but this thing has been running out of volume, and that looks like the case here. ILUS. I don't like this one for a morning panic bounce play. I should probably remove that. I would rather wait for some kind of reversal setup. DPLS. Yeah, this one has that ugly daily chart too, so I never considered it. HMBL, this one is trying to do some kind of an uptrend. Maybe it's doing what people call a dip and rip. That's a good possibility. Nothing here with AABP. This one's trying to uptrend. Maybe if it can keep playing off of VWAP, that would be nice. VIZC. This one is actually turning around, so you would have had to have been in right then and there. I guess if that person who makes those videos makes another video on the stock that he hasn't mentioned ever, or maybe for the first time in a very long time, this thing can be something where I can just try to get in for a morning spike setup. But I'll focus on what I know best, morning panic bounce place. But that's a nice move from 15 to 22, and this is a sub penny, so this was a crap ton of range. You can see it's up 75% on the day. Maybe if it can put like higher lows off of VWAP, I will be interested in that. Otherwise, that's all I have for right now. I'll look at TGGI, but it has to look clean, honestly. And I will trade a smaller amount because I'm gonna have a, the $8 risk level instead of 15 again, because it's not a morning panic bounce play. I'll make an update later. We'll see if anything happens, but for right now, I'll probably be looking at this as well as that other runner, that super sub penny stock. Alright, it is 9:53. I did not trade TGGI here. It could be, in theory, a morning panic bounce play, and here's the lower low setup. But there are just too many people who have a lot of size on the ask consistently throughout the entire price range, and on top of that, there is also a lot of people who just dump their shares at the bid, but it can totally do something. It's just kind of nerve-wracking. I could trade a super small size because I'm trading an $8 risk level, 145. If we break this 139, worst case scenario, I get out at 135 with slippage, so that's 101, and then it's 108, $7. That's pretty close to my $8 risk level, but this one can do it, but it might fail if there were just consistently too many people who are selling with a lot of size on the ask and dumping their shares on the bid. But it's trying to do something here, but every single level there is just another person with a lot of size, or people who are just with hidden size. But let's see if this 146 level breaks, because that's going to be pretty important. It did it once and it only got to 147, but if they can try to break 146 here, that could be pretty nice, and then I can just learn from this price action. Yeah, there's just a lot of people with a lot of size on the ask. And then there's that dumping that I was talking about. Although 145 is trying to hold pretty nicely. Now there's two people at 146. OZSC did offer opportunity. If I was watching this one when it was happening, I would have likely have traded it, even though the daily chart doesn't look that nice. This is in theory a morning panic bounce play. It's like a double bottom basically, and in theory I could be in trading the $8 risk level. Let's say in theory 498, this setup did get to 51 briefly, and it might try to put up a higher low at any point and then continue the uptrend, especially where it is here, because it could totally do something like a reversal throughout the rest of the day and offer a lot of opportunity towards the upside. But in theory, let's just say I'm in at 498. Which will be here. I guess I have to enter the ticker actually first. Because that was probably at the ask at some point, this 498 level. And then in theory, if we break the day low at 495, worst case scenario, I get out at 49, so that's 249. That's $4, so I'd have to trade 10,000 shares. That would be a $490 position, again, and at 498, which was the ask right here, risking this level 495 breaking. So if 495 breaks, worst case scenario, I get out at 49 because there was slippage. That's pretty much my, $8 risk level. And right now we have 51 at the bid, so 498, and then we click here. I'd be up $13 give or take. So there's a lot of opportunity in this setup. Had I have seen it again when it was happening, I likely would have traded it, because I've seen this work multiple times with AABB, ILUS. Even if it's not looking nice on a daily chart, I do like the higher low setup because it's at least trying to hold a support level, and it might try to uptrend the rest of the day and do something pretty nice. And now, a sell at 15.25, that would be a super damn profitable trade, maybe $30 at this point. Even selling this at the bid, that's pretty nice. That's a pretty cool one. I mean, a bit of a short squeeze right here, some kind of a short trap, but that's a pretty cool setup. I didn't trade it. I'm not gonna kick myself because I just didn't see it. If I was hesitating and then it does this, yeah, I'd be pissed, but I just didn't see this the moment it was happening. It looks like it is trying to turn around TGGI. Just, again, big sellers everywhere. I'm glad it's doing something, though, I don't just want it to go straight down. It should try to go up. But that's fine. It can do whatever it wants. That's about it, really. I'll make an update later. This looks like an inverse head and shoulders. Alright, just want to record some thoughts with RETO. This is a setup I hesitated with, and I'd be salty, but I'm not salty because this is a listed stock, so I like to be very cautious on something that's just clearly not something I'm really that interested in trading with. So this is a listed stock, down a lot, and this thing can do what I thought at the time was an inverse head and shoulders. I was trading in theory with that $4 risk level. Here's the shoulder, here's the head, and then we had that shoulder, and I was interested in it right about here, but it was like a big 40k seller at 107, and this one ended up working, at least right now. The goal would be at VWAP, at least above VWAP would be super nice, and then if it tries to put up higher lows from there, that would be pretty cool too. In theory, this one is working out a little bit. I'd be up, what, if I were to sell right now at the bid, 74.90, I'd be up like $1.40. Not nothing incredible, but this thing still has room for potential to do something. It at least broke out of this 109 level briefly, and maybe it can put up baby higher low if it has to. And as long as it kind of holds this 105 level, it can continue an uptrend and maybe hit VWAP, which would be nice. But again, this is a listed stock, nothing that I'm too interested in. In theory, if I was in at 107, I would have cut it if it were to have broken at 103. Worst case, $1 is probably going to hold. 74.90, $4.90, pretty close to my $4 risk level. So I'll make an update and see if this one does anything. TGGI, it looks clean, but this is a hard fought battle, like a really hard fought battle with all of the people selling with signs on the ask, but it is trying to put up a higher low here. I'd rather see something like that with OZSC. This doesn't look that bad. I just wish it had more volume. I'll watch this. I'll make an update later. Alright, it is 10:15. It's a really tight range. I was looking in theory maybe getting in right before 109, which was at the ask, breaks and it hits 110. The issue is that there was a big injection of volume. Somebody just wiped out everybody who was selling at 109 immediately with this green transition bar right here. And you know, I wasn't able to get in at 109 for that reason, just because somebody just bought all the people at the ask at 109 with a lot of shares, and now it's at 11. So in theory, this is the inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, second higher low setup right here. VWAP would be a level it has to break. It has to break it. I don't like the sellers there on the ask. I would actually be probably selling some shares, just because there are so many people at 112, and I'm not that optimistic that this thing is going to turn around, although it very well can, especially when you just look at where it is. If you look at a 15-minute chart, I mean, the low in this range was like 101, so it was basically holding $1 the entire time. I didn't see it until it was around right here for the first time, but yeah, this was a nice, you know, in theory, opportunity to get in twice. If this was an OTC setup, I'd be pretty upset with myself for missing it, but this is not. This is a listed stock. They're very freaky, and the way this one did it, where, you know, again, I was waiting for that 109 level. Basically, I just wanted to see a very small amount of people at 109, and it looks like it's going to get, you know, just taken out, and then 110 is going to be next, and 109 shows up at the bid. I wanted to be in right before that transition were to happen, but that was not an opportunity that I was able to have because somebody, again, just bought all the people at 109. Now it's trading at 111 by 112. I just don't like the amount of people who are, you know, at 112 selling with size, which is right at VWAP too. It might even reject VWAP, so I'll just make an update to see what this one does eventually. But that was a very interesting setup. Alright, it is 10:39, and I've been looking at these stocks, and some of them do kind of offer an opportunity, but then it looks like it's just going to sit around and trade in that price range and not really move up or down, just consolidate for a super long time. I probably won't be trading anything else, but as for VIZC, I was looking at this one for some kind of a breakout from a transition from 18 to 19, but people keep jumping in at 18 at the ask. But this thing can try to do something. It could also just be that the guy who promoted this stock just made it trade a whole bunch of volume, right? And now it's just going to not maybe do much on the chart, but people who are insiders or whatever got to dump a whole bunch of shares. So, you know, for a slight profit, because they don't really care about the price. They care more about volume, and definitely there is a lot of volume here for them to be able to sell their shares into. So RETO, I was actually going to go over when I would get out of this trade if I was in this at some point, but it looks like the exit would already be in. I think maybe I would turn this one a little lower. I would, when it trades like this, in theory, and I don't really know when to get out per se, maybe I'm not looking at the price action too closely or something like that, but in theory, when it comes to setups like this, I'd probably be out because I would have thrown a trend line because it's clearly holding one, and then get out once it breaks that. Now I might try to, you know, consolidate and then continue the uptrend later in the day, but that's when I would be out. I'd be out at 110. I would be in at 107 for my original idea of the inverse head and shoulders. It did work out. It did get to VWAP, which is a goal. It didn't get above VWAP significantly. It didn't do that, but it can try to do something like that later. That was in theory the setup there, and I was looking at I believe DPLS. So I thought, alright, this thing had a bottom, you know, a spike, and then maybe I can get in right here, and it can try to do something. But then I just thought, you know, maybe the volume isn't here. People aren't trading as much as, you know, usual because of the Thanksgiving weekend, and, you know, maybe it won't do anything. And this thing just sat around and it actually broke the level here, the day low, just briefly. It came back, but yeah, I probably won't trade anything else today, but there were definitely setups out there. RETO, I missed that one. I could have been in that one, even though I would have been just slightly profitable. You know, maybe in theory I would have sold when it was still in like 11.12 or something like that, or 11.11. Did I say 11.12? Wow, 112, 111. I don't know, you know, that's all speculation. TGGI is trying to do a turnaround, but again, too many sellers at the ask. Yeah, LZSE is similar, that it has that morning panic bounce play. Maybe you can base it off of here or here. This one was a nice one. I could have been a part of this one for sure. And, you know, this one definitely played out. I'll have to watch what I was saying about this setup if I hesitated. Oh no, I didn't see this one. I saw it when it was too late. I would have been pissed if I missed this one. Yeah, that's right. And then you could say in theory, oh well, it put up a little, you know, higher low off of here under VWAP, maybe a love trend as well. But you can see it's just consolidating. So maybe there's just not much volume. But who knows? Maybe it could do something later. I'll make an update when the market closes to see what these things ultimately do. RGBP can try to reverse, you know, break VWAP and do a nice uptrend, putting up higher lows. They could totally do that. HMBO looking a bit iffy. This one's nice because this one had a dip under VWAP and then it did it here, right higher than here, and then that made a move from 38 to 40, and there was clearly some kind of ceiling at 45 for 40.05, not like 45 clearly. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I probably won't trade anything else. I do feel kind of tired, so I think unless I trade something, I'll make an update when the market's closed, or I just see something pretty cool. Alright, it is 7:20 p.m. and I am here to call it off. I ended up like 11 something dollars, and yeah, it was just trading TGGI back here. It did do that downtrend here. This was too scary for me. It did make a move towards VWAP, but again, I just felt like there wasn't really that much activity in the markets today. RETO, this one did do that thing, and now it looks drastic, but at the time it didn't look like much of a setup. That inverse head and shoulders where I could have been at 107. It did put up 1, 2, 3 higher lows and higher highs until it did this move, which hit the goal of VWAP. But unfortunately, that's all it did, and then it broke right under it. Never got under $1, which was my, you know, level that I was thinking about in terms of how important it is. But my risk level would have been this wick breaking. There was plenty of opportunity to sell for a profit there, even though the range wasn't that nice. I just hesitated because it was a listed stock, but I'm glad to see that it worked. If I can see that I'm on the right track with a lot of listed stocks, I'll try trading. I'll be more interested in wanting to trade it just because I seem like I have a grasp for listed stocks, and then I can work from there with that small $4 risk level. It did offer a move again. It did get to VWAP, which is a goal, but it didn't do much further than that. As for HMBL, looks like it did panic, but I wouldn't have traded this. Nothing really here that I would have been really that interested in. Yeah, nothing too ideal, unless I wanted to be short, like it, you know, it's at VWAP, went under it, and then it went above VWAP, it failed. Comes back down, and then here it makes a move for VWAP one more time, but it absolutely got choked. That's actually not a bad short setup, and maybe with something with low volume, you know, it's more inclined to downtrend. And that was a short from 59 to 51, which is just under 10%, but I don't mind missing that. I wasn't necessarily that interested in shorting, although maybe hindsight's 2020. Perhaps in the future I can see it ahead of time and maybe consider it. DPLS didn't do much. It's still holding its level. It can do a reversal at any point, and that would be nice. OZSE, besides this move right here, which was like a squeeze, nothing really that nice. Again, I just think the market isn't really there, you know, given the time period for trading, but there were still opportunities. It's just, you know, I think less likely. Nothing here with AABB that I would have been interested in. ILUS isn't bad because it did a dip under VWAP. It tried here a bit higher than here. That would have been a setup there too. And after that, nothing else. OSCI, kind of weird. VIZC, nothing. Yeah, I would have liked it if it went under VWAP, did a nice uptrend, and then a higher low off of VWAP. It didn't do that. I think that video that came out over this stock did its purpose, and that was to get people to dump their shares. with that nice amount of volume. Yeah, definitely a nice amount of volume. They said they were going to have news early Monday. I don't know if it came out or not, but yeah, that's all I got. Just that trade there with TGGI and a successful setup with RETO that I didn't take. There was also that other one where, which one of it was it? I think it was OZSC. Yeah, it's OZSC as well, but I wasn't there when that one happened. That's all I have for today. I'll probably be here tomorrow, and then after that, nothing else until Sunday, and I'll do a weekly recap.